Hey, Carol. All right, and I've got the meeting up and running, so we'll start to see people as they come in, hopefully.
There's a few of us going to be here in person, or
Yes, yes. Do we need to, trying to think which computer we want to have on.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you want me to throw that towards them, or?
Yeah, it'd probably be better than me being up there. This is not so important. I'm trying to think which way that's gonna work, because as more people sign in, you know what? No, Denise, don't worry about it. But if you could be the camera that is focused on them the whole time, and I'll keep this attached to our everything else. Oh, goodness. Where'd it go? Ah. Okay. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Carol?
Okay. Well, probably.
Who was it? You used to work at the eye.
Okay, well, that was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Will it
I know your husband.
no audio or with Okay. audio?
No audio, I'd say, because I've got audio on mine,
Yeah.
and that way it won't do the echo thing.
Carol, you're.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, you?
Doing good. I'm Denise.
Hi, Denise. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Go. Hey. Good. How are you doing? Okay. Okay. Phone number.
I'm just gonna call Mark and have him.
That works. Thank you. Hey guys, how are you? Good. Good. I got your email, so
Okay.
it's included in our folder tonight. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
You all gotten in your Google Drive folders all right to review the documents? Like the minutes?
I don't know. Is she not? Is that why? Supposed to be the park? Is that maybe that's it?
Oh, yeah, we kind of do them. Tammy is gonna be virtual,
No.
yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So I thought,
okay.
well,
Oh,
we'll
that's
spread it out a
good.
little bit more. Okay.
All right, minutes are right.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
That's what happened at the last meeting.
Yep.
Hey.
We good. All right.
Time?
Still mad.
It's fine. Too late now.
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm willing. It's hard to recognize that
It
fast.
sure is, boy. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
Good,
Yeah, they're on.
good. Put it on as long as we can, right? We'll treat you all right.
Okay, fine. Fine.
Doing all right?
Can we have the board?
How
I'm
are you?
Kayla.
Oh, I'm Rita Teeters.
Rita, okay, do you have Central Way?
Central Lake, good job, yeah.
Nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm sure you've heard from a few of the other neighbors, I think they called in.
Mhm.
Not that I'm young, but they're a lot more elderly.
Hey, that's good. I'm glad you were able to come to the meeting.
I'm representing them, you know,
Mhm.
kind of to see what's gonna happen.
Him and my brother.
Unofficial HOA.
We ran this place, the election got the job.
Uh-oh.
Walk out the back. Open the gate on the fence. It'd be a better situation. Of course, this is. Free time. He's down in Melbourne on 4 years. Yeah.
Well, good seeing
How's everybody back here?
you. Neighbor.
Hey, Jeff, can you hear me?
Down there. Yeah, last, yesterday evening.
Loud and clear, Caitlin.
Good.
Pretty good. Got a new tree planted on the corner there. Yeah. First. You people out of your yard. I saw them. It's been a little while ago. It looks like somebody decided to cut the corner and all that. Bad view. Bad view.
Where do you live?
Out on 425, 600 on the inside corner.
Okay. Right across from Ball yet?
Right across from the bottom. Yeah. And Brady Bunch house.
Yeah.
I need to put me some posts on my corner down there. Keep them from roughing it up. Yeah, they're on that one.
Hey, Jamila.
Yeah.
Carol, got some documents that you're gonna need to sign tonight, okay? So I'll double check, I'll probably just get you at the beginning of the meeting. Okay, there's the certification. Signature sign, basically, clean, show the plan. Okay. And the oath of office.
Yeah, we've rented it.
Another oath of office, so, but, that was. Okay. No, this is I'm brand new.
It all runs together.
I know, that's why, it's like, okay. So now I can just-
Hey, Rachel.
Hey,
I am looking. Hi, Rachel.
hey, how are you?
Good, nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
I am looking. I had the email the other day, which had the agenda, which I guess I could pull that up off of the BZA website. But are there any documents for today?
Yeah, there should be a presentation that Kayla will share with you BZA, we are not supposed to share our staff presentation with you until the actual meeting itself. So really the agenda is
Okay,
generally the only thing that we can share beforehand.
okay. I thought I saw
It's all
something
in there.
maybe it was just the agenda. So I thought the town building was closed. However, I see there's some people there. So not everyone's on Zoom.
Zoom is perfectly fine. There was a little confusion because at one point in time in the last week and a half, we were told all meetings would be virtual, and then the decision was made later to go ahead and reopen it. So no worries.
Denise, are we missing anybody else who RSVP? Okay. Hey, Rachel, is there a way to get the speakers any louder in here for through Zoom? Who's audio are we using for that?
If you have the laptop open, we had it on the laptop last time, but you can really run it out of either one.
No.
Is it hard
turned
to
up.
hear Jamila and I?
It's a little quiet.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. It's just very soft. Is there a way to go through the TV? The other speaker system?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I know at one meeting we had turned the microphones on, and then one of the
Mhm.
microphones got pushed down onto the laptop, and that kind of amplified it a little bit, but sometimes I get nervous turning on those microphones in there.
Yeah, I wonder if, can we plug in like speakers to this laptop?
Possibly, yeah.
I'll go see.
Okay.
Hey, Denise, could you call Ron Jones and see if he's intending to come tonight? Is there a second petition?
Second petition.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I said, we got another issue before yours, so it'll work out perfect. So.
Don't know if this is gonna work, but if it doesn't, we'll go ahead and start the meeting the best we can. I'm missing a cord. Kyle, do you want to go ahead and get started? Or do you want me to see if I can get the speakers
Yeah,
working
is
louder?
is Tammy joining or?
Tammy
She
is
did
on as,
RSVP,
Okay. We can go ahead
Kayla.
and start though if you want.
whatever's up to
Kayla.
you.
Okay, it's 7:07. I'll go ahead and call to order the November 17th, 2020 Board of Zoning Appeals for the town of Pendleton. And you want to do a roll call?
Yes. Kirby McCrocklin,
Here.
Jamila Zafar,
Here. Here.
Tammy is here.
awesome. Jamila,
Yes.
did you
I'm-
say here?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Jamila is here. We're having some speaker difficulties. Okay. Kyle Eichhorn,
Here.
Tammy Bowman.
Here.
Oh, no.
Sound like she said here.
Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear.
Okay.
No, we usually don't have this problem.
It was me. My speaker attempts did not work.
Can you hear us now, Kayla?
Yes. Can you all hear? Okay, we're good.
Okay, good.
All right. And our newest member, Carol Hanna.
Here.
Okay.
Go ahead and let Tammy take over.
I think she's Hannah.
Yeah, you're doing really well.
All right, well, let's review the minutes and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a
Oh, I'm
second?
sorry. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I second.
Roll call.
Okay. Kirby McCrocklin,
Yes.
Jamila Zafar,
Yes.
Kyle Eichhorn,
Yes.
Tammy Bowman,
Yes.
Carol Hanna.
I wasn't here.
All right,
Hey,
minutes
has Carol
approved.
been sworn in?
Looks like no old business. We'll move on to new
Oh.
business.
Could we wait for one moment? I think that Jeff Graham has something to say. Jeff, can we
Yeah.
hear you in the background?
Has Carol been sworn in yet, Kayla?
No, she does have the forms though. Would you like to go ahead and do that now?
I can do, it'll take, if it's okay with the board, it'll take about 30 seconds.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. Carol, wherever you are, please raise your right hand. And state after me. I, Carol Hanna,
I, Carol Hanna,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
as well as the ordinances of Madison County
as well as the ordinances of Madison County
and the town of Pendleton,
and the town of Pendleton,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and diligently
and diligently
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of board member
of the office of the board as a board member
of the Town of Pendleton Board of Zoning Appeals,
the Town of Pendleton Board of Zoning Appeals,
according to law and to the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll sign these.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's move on to new business. CU 1117-2020-01, 525 East State Street, BNL Brown Construction Services.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen so everyone can view my presentation. Okay. So before we get started tonight, since we have a new board member, I just wanted to reiterate the role of the board and of staff at the BZA, which applies to a lot of our other boards as well. So the board's job, as you guys know, is to review the information given to you here tonight, but not to independently investigate it beforehand, and to serve as a semi-judicial body to review conditional use permit applications, to review variances from our development standards and also from our use regulations, and also to review appeals and interpretations. So that's your role. I try to get as much information as I can into the Google Drive folder for the board members as soon as I can. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or Rachel. The role of staff, especially to the BZA, is to review the petitions and applications that are given to us and to analyze them against the ordinances of the town. So we serve as that investigative party, basically, that can do a lot of the legwork that you guys first aren't allowed to do by rules for the BZA. And then also because you are volunteers who come here once a month and it's our job on a day-to-day basis. So we do the legwork for you. But it is your job then to either approve with modifications, or deny about any petition that comes before you. Tabling or continuing a petition is an option. However, in order to be fair to our residents and kind of get things through, we like to save that as a last option. But I know you guys are seasoned members of different boards, but I just wanted to go through that before we get our meeting started, really. Okay. All right, so our first order of business tonight is B&L Construction Services, LLC, commonly known as Swackhammer Masonry and Concrete. Brad and Leanne Brown are here tonight representing this petition. And so what they're wanting to do is combine their shop and office operations at 525 East State Street, commonly known as the Old Bull Chevrolet. They've answered the questions that you as a board need to consider for a conditional use permit in their application. So I encourage you to take a few moments to review that document. And I've also included their improvement location or building permit application because it just has a few details about what they want to do at the site should they be granted a conditional use. I have included an image of the site. It's about 2 acres, takes up several lots right next to the CSX railroad. It's right across from O'Reilly's. Let me see if I can get zoomed in a little bit more. There we go. Rachel, what did I do? Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. The Browns have also submitted a building sketch showing how the building would be used. So they've got office space up in the front, some parking on the existing parking areas, and a shop area where it is currently shop doors. So it's making pretty good use of the current site. They are, in addition, would like to add a dumpster location, a dumpster on the west side of the building. They've given us some drawings showing what they would like to do and to improve the building. A lot of it is really just maintenance.
Is it the down arrow? Try doing the down arrow. Does that help?
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
All right. So feel free to review through that. And the reason they're really here tonight is because all contractors in the town of Pendleton are considered a conditional use, meaning they have to come before this board. Contractor use is listed as a CU or conditional use in both the planned business and downtown business zoning districts. It's not a permitted by right use in any of our zoning districts currently. You can see that this site is a planned business location on State Street, right near 67, but behind it there's a residential neighborhood, Stoller's Edition, which is entirely really single family. Got some photographs of the site as it is currently, which is vacant. Conditional uses are those that, because of their potential adverse impact upon the immediate neighborhood and the town as a whole, require a greater degree of scrutiny and review of site characteristics and impacts to determine their suitability in a given location. So that's why conditional uses have to come before this board. For you guys to decide, are they good to go as is, or do we need to place some safeguards to really make this use work at this site? And given that contractors sometimes have heavy equipment, or there's some loud noises, things like that. That's, I think, what the last people who reviewed our code of ordinances had in mind when they made all contractors conditional use. So approval depends upon the petition meeting a specific set of standards and the weighing of the public need and benefit against the local impact. Petitions that make up for or do not have adverse impacts through special site planning and development techniques are generally approved. And this is just a view into Central Way, West Central Way, which is directly behind the property, behind the Riley and Sons Auto Repair. And we do have a resident here representing that neighborhood, Mrs. Teeter.
Yeah,
Teeters, thank you. And so questions to consider will be, will this use fit in the neighborhood and be maintained and operated in a harmonious manner? Will any functions be hazardous or disturbing to the surrounding neighbors? Will this use at this location be well served by public roads, utilities, and public safety personnel? Will this use produce too much traffic, noise, smell, or light? In addition, the building site improvements will just have to get their permits through the building inspector or planning department after they receive approval. So those will go through us after the fact, and we'll have to comply with the planned business design guidelines. On this site, just right offhand, it looks like that'll be the dumpster enclosures and any signs. So I don't foresee any big issues as long as we can kind of work through those design guidelines for those items. So here, this board's option tonight, after hearing the petitioner and then any members of the public who would like to speak tonight. And after you guys ask me any questions or the petitioner any questions, will be to either grant with modifications, or deny the petition. I've also included an email that Leanne Brown was kind enough to send to me, answering some last minute questions about the number of employees they have, day-to-day operations, and really how the site will be used for them. But since they're here tonight, I'd really rather they explain that. Do you guys have any more questions to me? All right. Would one of you like to speak? Come on up. Yeah.
I'm Brad Brown. This is my wife, Leanne. As Kayla mentioned, Swackhammer Concrete's been in this town for a long time. And I came to work here 20 years ago. I left law enforcement, came here, got into this business. And around 2008, we bought the business. Had some other ideas I was going to do, and Doug Swackhammer, the owner, he asked if I considered buying the business. So I'd been on there about 8 years at the time. And we put it all together, and so Wayne and I bought it. And at that time, we lived in Muncie, so we commuted back and forth. And we moved to Pendleton, I think about 2010 or so. So we've been a resident here for the last decade. The shop is currently on 36. This is all the original Swackhammer stuff. The shop is currently on 36. Our office is just south of Anytime Fitness and the Pizza King, the doctor's office, that gray building with the beauty shop, and our office is in there, and the beauty shop is a tenant. So we've just simply outgrown both spaces. We're intent on keeping that business and moving our production and our office to the new building. So what happens with us is we're not a producer of concrete or a supplier of concrete. We simply, our employees gather there and get into their pre-assigned trucks and equipment, and they go to a specific job. So we just simply store our equipment in all this shop area, which is so much bigger. It'll allow us to keep our equipment indoors, which is a huge benefit, not to get so weathered. And they're given their instructions and directions, and they load their material, and they're on the road to a job. And I just passed one at 6:10 p.m. coming in from today's work. So our hours are unusual, especially in the spring and summer, probably until the 1st of December. Historically, they're still at 8 to 12-hour work days. Okay, so our spring and summertime hours begin around 5:30 a.m. And again, these guys work almost till dark through the summer months, because it's just the demand of our job. The winter time, we kind of back our hours out based on the sunlight. So we don't have any. The biggest piece of the equipment I have is a single axle dump truck. The rest of our stuff are trailers that pull bobcats and a small backhoe. So nothing is enormous. Okay, nothing is enormous. The trailers are just your standard 16 or 18-foot trailers, and which pull our bobcats and our equipment around. The only big thing that would come into our lot, okay, if we're going to do some work there, yeah, there's going to be some suppliers to us, but it's not a routine daily thing for us. You'll have the office staff there all day. The guys will park. They'll have to park somewhere, and then they get in my trucks and they go to work. In the office staff, it'll be three ladies, and I also have 3 superintendents. 4, I think. But I'm the only guy that's in the office the majority of the time. So they come in and out to figure prints or to figure estimates or whatever, and then they're back on the road. So you might have 4 to 6 of the office staff there throughout the day, maximum. And everybody else is on the road. And then when they're done, they come in and they'll pull their trucks in, and we're still, we've just done some measurements and some head counts of the overhead garage door spaces. And it looks like I'm going to be able to get most all of my trucks in and some trailers. But there might be a couple of trailers used in the extra parking area. We don't have any need for any loud noises or disruptive type activity for what we do. We get some deliveries, and that's mainly steel. We buy our own lumber. We don't have any big deliveries other than steel and then dumpster exchanges. We won't have a portalet because the facilities has indoor restrooms now, so that'll be up to us. And Kayla mentioned on the west side of the building is a dumpster enclosure, so we're going to hide the dumpster from sight, make it nice. And I kind of, in my mind, I have a copy of what Riley and Sons enclosure looks like. It's nice and neat. On the northwest corner of that big parking lot, we're going to put another big enclosure for things like the traffic cones and the traffic barrels and lumber and the miscellaneous things that we'll need. Again, keep out of sight. We had some earth science company come in, got to address water oil exchanger, which is well within the guidelines. Chronologically, we'll move production over here, and I'm afraid winter's going to catch us as far as working on the exterior of the building. But that is one of our first goals is to get the exterior up and running, change the colors, and jazz it up a little bit. We'll stay in the office we're in now until we have all the production guys moved over and we get the new office in the dome shape of Mr. Bull's building. What she's referred to, the dome shape, part of it's going to be the new office. And we're going to go with an open concept. It's really not. I hope I've answered any questions.
So how many production employees do you have?
We have, I think we're about, I think Leanne wrote 22.
That's total.
It's total. So it would be 19, 18 if you exclude me. And then I have 2 subs that are just, they're there all the time. They always work for us. So technically we have 18 plus 2 that rely on us. And that's up from, I think I was 11th or 12th employee when I hired them. So we've grown. When you lose a couple, you gain a couple. It's just the industry.
Does anybody online have, board members online, any questions for the petitioner?
Yes, I do.
Jamila does.
So from their location, that's like basically corner of State Street and Central Way. Is that right?
Yes, they're located at the corner of State Street and Central Way.
Yeah.
Okay, so primarily, where will the entrance and exit to the property be for all these trailers, trucks? Is that on Central?
She wants to know how the trailers and the bigger traffic will be getting in and out of the property.
Well, there's two entrances off of State Street into what we'll call the front of the building. One close to the railroad trestle, and then one just right off of Central.
There should be a map in the Google Drive folder. I think it's called 525 East State Parking, maybe, or site plan, if the board members want to access that.
Okay.
Actually, I can probably pull it up on this too. Might be helpful. Sorry if anybody's motion sick.
So you said there are two entrances. I mean, which one do you plan on using? Both or primarily one?
Do you have a,
Preferred entrance
Yeah.
exit,
mhm.
but preferably it would be the far west driveway. That, my years of living here in the morning rush hour, in the afternoon or evening rush hour, it's more, my experience, it's more heading east than west. So if they do have, in our 1-ton trucks, people, if you don't understand what a 1-ton truck is, it's like a big pickup truck that has a flatbed. It's simple. It's just a heavier pickup truck to pull the equipment and has the muscle behind it to pull equipment. So it's not like a semi. It's nothing like that. But they do require a little more radius to turn. So ideally, our preferred entrance and exit is the far west drive into the parking lot, which, as I was saying earlier, the congested traffic in the mornings is typically eastbound, and that kind of gets you closer to the railroad trestle, and then the traffic kind of 2 car lengths west of Auto Parks Place is, what's the name of that? O'Reilly. Typically, it's 2 car lengths, maybe 3. Sometimes past that is where the traffic just, I don't know, I guess the length of the stoplight or whatever. It may get back a little bit, but typically, that would be my preferred route for the entrance and exit. We use State Street to get on 69 because we work all over central Indiana. There are times we work in guys, so they'll go out and they go on 67 and go through Ingalls and Fortville. So I'm not going to say that I mean, as much as I try to control everything that I can, these guys, you know, they may take Central. They may sit at a 3-way stop sign at Central and turn left on the State and back right on 67. You know, they may do that. Well, it's a roadway, you know, and there's no curb or terrace or anything between the east side of Mr. Bowles' building and Central anyway. So I could see where they would have a tendency at times to do that. But they're grown men. They're going to see the traffic. They're going to know what direction they're going. So we'll emphasize, myself and the superintendents will emphasize and remind, like even now when we know that there's a crash at 116 69, we'll reroute them. You know, we'll take them up to Noblesville, take them up to Cynthia Road and reroute them to bypass that kind of stuff. So we'll do the best we can.
You had mentioned a couple pieces of equipment you may not be able to get inside.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't know until I get in there jockeying them around. But
Talk a little bit about where you would store that equipment again.
well, you know where the tree trucks are? They've been there for a couple of years since the storm and stuff. It wouldn't be any worse than that. It wouldn't be any worse than that. And they're not junk. It's not like a graveyard for vehicles. We use everything we have. And if we do have, if I can't get I want everything in that building. It's my equipment. I want it all in there. But if anything doesn't go in there, it would be a trailer, you know, because they don't cost me $50,000. You know? And they're just Cronkite trailers. And yeah, they're not junky or trashy. And until we, like I said, get in there and jockeying them around, there might be a couple. I don't have 16 trailers like I do trucks. So yeah, I think we got 6 trailers. And we're going to try. We're going to try our best to get every piece of equipment that I have inside that building. And then be practical about it. You know, I don't want to have to move 3 trailers to get a truck out or 3 trucks to get a trailer out. We're going to be efficient, and I'm going to be very, very worthy and considerate of how my building looks. You know, and how other people interpret how the building looks. You know, we live here. I don't want any hassles out of trying to, you know, buy a building and improve it and grow my company and put Madison County residents to work. That's not my goal, is to have a sore thumb. But if anything does sit out, it would be the trailers and possibly the dump truck.
So you mentioned a building for storing material and wood. I
It's
didn't
not a
see-
building, it's an
or
enclosure.
like a roof. I didn't see that on the site plan or anything. Is that?
Yeah, it's on there.
Is that a future thing or?
It's on I made it on the drawing. There's right off the west building, Kyle. The building's like 52 foot deep. And it's a 20-yard dumpster. So it just holds this, just like skids and things like that. I don't stack and store that stuff. It bugs me worse than it does anybody. And just cardboard box, just all that stuff goes in it, you know, cut off pieces of lumber, little pieces. We're in the concrete business. So sometimes our supplier gives us these specially made bags that the concrete washes out in. We haul them back, throw them in a dumpster.
So the only enclosure is just the dumpster. enclosure.
Just
That's it.
dumpster, yeah,
Okay, all
dumpster.
right.
And again, if, well, she showed a picture of Riley and Son, not to confuse the Riley Auto Parts, but Riley and Son's Body Shop, which is north or at the back of Mr. Bull's building. She showed a picture earlier and it kind of showed his enclosure. And so I don't want to mislead anybody. An enclosure is just like a chain link fence and they put these decorative colored like vinyl or plastic slats and that'll match the building. There it is. And they have bollards around them as to not get damaged. Because I don't want to buy it twice. You know, the dumpster will slide. It's on like a gate. It has wheels on it to open up, and they'll back in, pick it up, drop a new one off, and close the gate. And we'll design it to where it hides the dumpster. And again, I don't want to see it any more than anybody else does.
So staff will ensure that meets the whatever.
Plan business design guidelines? Yes, and just to be upfront, the plan business design guidelines, it'll probably, it wants you to put in an enclosure that utilizes the materials used on the building. So probably concrete block. Can be real simple, but like at least for the public facing side, a concrete block would be more in line with those design guidelines than full chain link. And then you wouldn't need the bollards either, which would even further clean it up. So especially since that is kind of on a really public side as you kind of come out from under the railroad tracks, but we can work with you later on that. If you look at O'Reilly's, they actually have a concrete block and it's got wood gate, but we wouldn't require, I don't think, the wood gate if you would rather have a sliding.
Yeah, I do them for a living, so.
Okay, all right.
The side facing the north, which would be what residents would see, is going to basically be what it is now, just painted.
Yeah, it'd be cleaned up, dressed up, and a little more distinct.
Was somebody from the neighborhood going to speak, or I don't know if we want to get their input and then we can come back to any additional questions. Or...
I have a question. The other enclosed area, are you going to require that to be blocked as well? The one I told you about from the northwest side of the building? If I didn't put on my drawing, then I apologize. I thought I did.
That's okay. I thought I saw it somewhere, but
Yeah,
you put it on something.
well, I could touch that.
yeah, that's fine. Yes,
Well, I'm doing it. Yeah.
I know this is your business and you want it to look nice too.
Yeah,
So, mhm.
yeah. I don't want anybody pointing their fingers. What, I won't let that happen.
Yeah, if you guys are ready, Mrs. Teeters can talk to you about any of the Central Way neighborhood concerns. Come on up to the microphone if you'd like. And if you could just state your name and address, please.
Okay. I'm Rita Teeters. I live at 127 West Central Way. And the concerns that we have is, he said the heavy equipment isn't much more than a single axle or whatever coming down the road. Our road is residential. You can't hardly get 2 cars up and down without somebody having to go into somebody's yard or whatever. When the big tree trucks come down, it's the same way. And they've been coming way too long, beating up that road, anything heavy on that road. The other thing we worried about is there is a blind corner there by Riley Auto Body and stuff. And depending on how their trucks are coming in and out, we worried about the convenience of seeing, because that is a bad turn with Riley's stuff right there too. Because it is residential, we have children playing on that road and stuff. We just didn't want more heavy traffic on there that needs to be, because it's not a thoroughfare, and even though people think it is now, when there's stuff on 38 that happens, traffic comes through ours, and it's speed limit according to the Pendleton Police is 30 miles an hour, which is way too fast coming through a residential way. Our most concern is too much traffic on that road if they're coming in and out that way, because I know if State Road gets busy, that's the first thing people do is come down our road. That was the main concern, any noise level. Riley Auto Body, they're doing anything, usually it's during an 8 to 5 type period, so we don't have to worry about any kind of loud noises or anything. So again, my concern, the concern of the neighbors is that of it being a residential road, it's only so wide, and the traffic and how it tears down the side of the roads because they have to come over on the side of it. And one side has a ditch, so they can't go that side. So they come over on my property, is where it is, on my side. And you can see where the blacktop breaks down on my side, just the way it is. So we really didn't want any more traffic in that area. Questions?
Thank you.
I can respond to that, and I appreciate what she's saying. I have no reason to go that route, and we'll respect that. I have driven through there as recently as a couple weeks ago. I think the heating and cooling truck, little box truck, was working at somebody's house, and I had, just in my pickup truck, I had difficulty getting around that. So I appreciate the fact those roads are narrow.
Very narrow. I mean, it's a residential area, you know, what, back in the day, it wasn't meant to have heavy traffic.
Well, all I can say is I'll respect the neighborhood. I understand it's residential. We have 3 entrances and exits into the main portion of our building. If the guys were to come on Central, and they're still way south of the neighborhood, they have no reason to go anywhere in the neighborhood. Our building is right there. And there's 3 entrances, the west, and we'll call the east is to the property, and then Central, that one block area would be, that's 3 entrances and exits. I'm sure we can make those 3 work.
We're talking about just the large truck. I mean, the personal vehicles of the employees, I don't necessarily see that being.
Well, it depends how many he's talking personal, you know, is there gonna be like 19 cars coming up that road during the daytime, or?
We don't, we're not like a factory. We punch in at 8, punch out at 2. We're not like that. They'll come in they'll come in at a variety of hours throughout the day. And just knowing that she's mentioning this and it's a concern, And I'll definitely address it with my guys. But if they're in their pickup trucks or their cars, it's about half and half. Half of them have cars, half have pickup trucks. I can't promise that they won't, if traffic's backed up past the auto parts store, I can't promise that they won't go up the route to the library. And I don't think anybody can promise that. But they're adults, they're family men, they have children. But again, my preferred entrance and exit, and it'll be conveyed to our employees, will be the three entrances that we come to work and leave work. Again, if I'm not there, I can't police it 24/7. I don't predict there to be any problems.
I just know Riley Auto Body, their employees never come up and down our roads. They come off at 38th Street, and that's the preferred way that we'd appreciate that the main traffic does, all his employees do. But I understand his saying he can't police everybody. We're just, like I said, worried because we are a residential area with small kids out playing, and how it tears down the road because, it's not made for, and like you said, if the mail truck stop there and you have to go around, there's barely room. Usually you run off the road trying to pass something.
Yeah, it's narrow.
There's
no argument. There's no argument from me whatsoever. I'll do the best I can.
So Rita, your main concern is the heavy equipment.
Any heavy equipment or more traffic in that area than necessary. Since he said they don't do actually production there, so the noise level shouldn't be, like I said, Riley's pretty good because they're like an 8 to 5 type place. They don't start really early or really late, so I've not heard the neighbors complain about any loud noise or anything. I just wasn't sure what his business was going to contain when it came.
No. Late spring, early summers, you get a jump. And the reason we start early, when the sun comes up, we try to beat the heat. Really, this is all about. And they come in, there might be, it's rare that you see 2 or 3 trucks come in at the same time because they're in crews. It could be a 2-man crew, it could be an 8-man crew, depends on the size of the job. It's rare that, I don't know I've ever seen my entire fleet come into town at one time, ever. They come in when they're done and each job is independent of the other. So the only thing that I have that is considered a heavy truck is a single axle. The other things are just 1-ton trucks. And that doesn't mean they weigh a ton, they're just rated that way. Yeah.
The other concern was because we thought, we're thinking cement trucks.
No,
trucks.
I don't have.
See, that was when
Yeah.
your company says that's in our mind, the neighbors were thinking all these big heavy trucks coming in.
Yeah, I wish I had a fleet of them, but I don't.
But that was a concern
Yeah.
because of that heavy equipment.
That's a legitimate question because Dave from Riley & Sons, he and I spoke on the phone yesterday. And if you don't know, you don't know. I mean, I understand. But he and I spoke on the phone and he just doesn't know the business. He thought that we might have these, and you might see them when they're redoing the highway off to the side somewhere, usually on an exit ramp. Different company like Riley & Sons or Milestone, they'll have these towers and all this stuff and these conveyors and piles of gravel and sand, and that's there for a reason. It's close by so they can do the highway construction. They're not traveling all over creation. That's a supplier or a producer. And Dave wanted to clarify. And there's a legitimate question just like what you're asking, but we don't have any of that stuff.
I do want to say, I appreciate you taking over that building. There's something that needs to go in there to utilize that space and make it look nice. So it's not I'm knocking your business, just concerns of what you do and how it's going to impact the little neighborhood that's usually very quiet. A lot of elderly people still live in that neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, We don't have a lot of boom, boom, bang, bang stuff. They get their equipment. The noisiest thing, one thing that we did, we use rebar. It's a good thing. And we used to cut it at our current location, and it's noisy. It's noisy. I don't like it, because I'm there, they're cutting rebar, and I'm trying to talk to people so we can order a pre-cut, which we have been doing, and which is more efficient anyway. So they might, they're encouraged to test their equipment before they leave.
Oh, well, that's,
Fire
yeah.
up a saw, it's just no different than a
Well,
lawnmower.
yeah, that's no, and I've lived there most of my life, so when it was Bull Chevrolet and Puckett Chevrolet back in the day, I mean, we're used to the noise,
Yeah.
some noise, and stuff like that, but not knowing your business, we were kind of concerned
Sure.
about what actually you do. So yeah, we're not opposed to that. It's just mainly, I think they're more concerned about traffic.
Well, and again, I'm gonna think like them for a second. And it wouldn't be 100% of the guys, but I gotta think like them. There'll be a couple guys that I might have to pull the reins back on, because they don't mean any harm by it. They won't mean any harm by it. They're just wanting to get out of town, get on the road.
Right, and the speed limit, again, as I stated, I called the police and they said it was 30 miles an hour. We'd appreciate if people went a little slower, because in the summer, there are kids out playing. And you have to be just real,
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at how little we affect your daily life.
okay.
You'll be, I think your neighbors, your residents on both streets, I
Right,
assume
yeah.
you're talking about, I think they'll be surprised at how they wake up and suddenly see the building painted. And suddenly realize there's swacking with concrete. Because this business, over 50 years, they've been in this town. I still meet people that say, well, who, where? They don't know. I'm kind of shocked by it, but it's not so bad being kind of, anonymous at times.
Is there any comment from the public, other online or otherwise?
Let me check.
Emails or something, or some people talked to you about it, or they said they called you.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, I think it's basically the same information.
Let's see.
Well, and also I'll add, because I don't want any, there's no secrets. I don't want, I'm just being upfront. We have accounts at Speedway. I mean, I have accounts all over this place, all over the state. And I need to, because the locations we work. And we get our fuel at Speedway. Okay? It makes no sense for Mike Fleet to go back over and up to the Speedway. We're just going to have to deal with the traffic. We're just going to have to deal with it. And I know somebody might be thinking about, you'll get jackknifed with it. That ain't going to happen. We're not going to pull it one time out with a trailer jackknife and block traffic going either direction on State Street. These guys, this is what most of them. I've been there 20 years. I've got guys that work for me that's been there longer than me. They know how to maneuver. They know when to go, when not to go. They're not a bunch of kids, and there are a couple of young guys, but they know. They use good judgment.
Well, since you know the area, you realize how congested that whole CVS, O'Reilly's, and
Well,
that gas station, that area is so congested most of the time.
yeah, we don't have daily traffic like that, like CVS and O'Reilly's and.
I'm just thinking the whole area is really congested. So-
Yeah, I'm just saying, we're not a retail store.
Right.
We're, in the mornings, we're busy. They're gone in 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, you should be gone and out. before the
Oh,
traffic.
yeah. Especially in the summertime, and we're before the school buses hit. That's kind of how to be honest with you. We tried to schedule things for this reason. We have for years.
board members, I guess we need to consider these 4 questions. That's what we need to focus on, right?
Mhm.
So I guess if you guys want to look, board members want to look at the 4 questions here to see if the petition has addressed or, meets these 4 questions.
Would you remind me what the 4 questions are?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it fits in with the neighborhood and maintained in a harmonious manner. Will any functions be hazardous or disturbing? Will this be well served by public roads and utilities? And will this produce too much traffic, noise, smell, or light? So I think we've kind of touched on all of those. I don't know if anybody has any discussion, if they have any concerns about those 4 questions. Maybe
I have a concern a little bit about one of those, Kyle.
Okay.
And that just has to do, I would like to consider with the site design plan, 2 things that are related. One is the access to this trash enclosure, this dumpster area. It looks like it needs to be approached from Central, but is there a way or a plan or position where it could be approached from the State Street side through the property? And secondly, is there a design answer to keeping traffic or persuading traffic to not take the Central Way entrance into the property? Some curbing, some landscape, something like that that could be modified to the plan.
Did everyone hear that all right?
I heard it.
That was from Tammy Bowman, board member.
Well, I'll answer what we will tell them. And so we order from the same, our steel supplier, and they know. We had to tell them one time, you come in this way and you put it here, and they do a good job of it. The dumpster people, what I anticipate is wherever they're coming from, they have 2 of our entrances that they could use. They could use the west entrance into the west parking lot to come up to the proposed dumpster site and back in. They'll empty it. They'll put an empty can there. Can is a dumpster. So the truck will be empty. They'll pull up, back up to the dumpster, load the full one, and they just kind of flip-flop them until they get the empty one back in there. So they have an 1.5 acres of parking lot to come in on the west side. And then we can just tell the company, and they'll tell their drivers when they come to switch out Swackhammer's dumpster, which routes to take. Now, whether they are coming up 67, I don't know. I don't know because they're on routes, kind of like a bread truck. So I don't know where they'll be coming from. Because they may pick an empty one up in Marklettville and bring it here, or they may pick an empty one up in Anderson.
Yeah, all of that makes sense. From the photo, it looks like there's not room on your property from where this enclosure is drawn. And so I'm looking at just the photo that makes it seem that way.
Okay, which page is that, Tammy?
Oh, sorry. It was on your screen just then, Kayla.
Oh, okay. That one is actually that one is Riley's. So that one is not one they'll be using.
Well, then I'm completely disoriented with that photo. It looked.
There we go. Okay. Do you see this
like
one?
it would not happen.
Can you
Okay,
see the
so
photo on-
can you use your cursor to show on here where the enclosure would be? Is it over here? Okay, completely different matter.
Mhm. Yep.
So then, if the board wants to just consider that, but then the other issue being about whether the site plan can have any landscaping or other techniques built into it to discourage traffic or to screen activity from the residential side.
Just one piece of input that maybe the board could consider when we're putting together the conditions for the site. One thing could be, Kayla had mentioned earlier about, like the dumpster enclosure does need to follow the plan business design guidelines. But maybe just how far do you guys see that going? This isn't a complete remodel of a building by any means. They're using a lot of the same facilities that are on the site, but, how much do you want to see with those plan business design guidelines? Do you guys want this to get kicked over to Plan Commission to review? Do you want to keep it here and just have the conditions spelled out very clearly? So I guess that's, as staff, is something we'd be looking for on guidance for this particular project.
Something that could be considered is a timeline for the painting and parking lot improvements as well, things that wouldn't particularly require a permit or further board review, but would certainly be a big improvement to the site and a big benefit to the residents. Just maintenance could be a condition.
Thoughts on access?
Do you have any concerns about screening of any of the, like, say, the parking area, Mrs. Teeters, or?
No, actually, I know when another place had purchased this and was going to use it as like a restaurant type thing, they had a lot of requirements they were going to have to do with curbing and lighting and all that. But since he's running a different kind of business, I don't know that those same things that they were going to have be requested to do would pertain to his business.
The way that we viewed it, and this is a different board, BZA versus Plan Commission,
Right.
Is that this used to be much less intense, 22 employees versus a lot of public going in and out. So
Right. And
that's
this
why.
building has been used as a garage, as repairs and all that kind of stuff. So yes, it's basically set up really great for the kind of business he wants. So no, and it's set in disrepair for a long time. We'd appreciate if somebody painted it, but it's not like we're going to die from it. It's it's been sitting that way for way too long. So I'd appreciate somebody taking it over to do something with it.
Do you have a timeline for painting and repairing the parking lot?
Well, I may be able to get, it's all weather dependent. It's all weather dependent. But one of the first things is the interior and exterior. So I had hoped that I would get a start on the exterior. There's some gutter work and then just some cosmetic stuff to the exterior, the aesthetic part of it. And we have the office now, so to answer your question, I think it all just depends on the weather as far as 2020 goes and the early parts of 2021. But I'd like to have the thing repainted by sometime this summer, this coming summer.
1 year.
Yeah, that would be a fair.
And that's for the painting of the building and for the construction of the dumpster enclosure.
Yeah, I would think that'd be fair. The inside of it is, I want to get my entire business in that building as soon as possible, but I want to look good too.
It's good advertisement for you, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think any improvements you make exterior, like on the exterior, is gonna go a long way to making everyone feel positive about the new.
Yeah, I think so. I think people will notice it
Yeah.
pretty quickly. They'll see activity. They'll see life. It has a blood flow, and there's several things to consider. And I make these wrong, but there's some other ways to kind of soften the building up as well. And I don't think anyone's going to have an issue with that, but there could be some planter areas added along the sides of the building just for some ornamental grasses or something to soften it up a little bit.
So you've got bigger plans.
Yeah, I got bigger plans for it. I want to enjoy going to work. So
I guess there's discussion about any modifications that you want, or do we want to entertain a motion to approve? I mean, the staff's gonna have permits that they'll address, and any improvements will be staff review, so I don't know if we need anything there.
No, yeah, the traffic flow, I guess, maybe is the biggest concern to try to minimize.
There's really no enforcement of trucks using the roads, right? Just the commitment to.
Well, you two know where each other are. So.
Well, when I called, again, the Pendleton Police, they said there is no weight limit on that road, which I find very hard, but that's what they told me. Technically, I suppose, you know, the only time we had heavy equipment is after the tornado and we had semis and stuff come down the road. Normally, we don't, for any reason, have heavy equipment, except for when they start bringing those tree trucks down. That becomes a problem too, but no, technically, according to the police, there's no weight limit and there's only a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's just, it is residential. That's all I can, you know, stress.
And the use of Central Way that doesn't have residential isn't an issue. I mean, like
Central Way is a little, like you said, about a block long that runs right into Riley Auto Body.
yeah,
Is that little section. Then you have
the
east
section
and
that
west.
goes towards State Street. That's also Central Way, I guess.
It's just, yeah, it's just that little section.
Yeah,
And then it does the horseshoe thing and one goes east and one goes west.
yeah.
I mean, can we have that as a condition that the work vehicles will use State Street? Or,
I'm not sure how enforceable it is,
Yeah.
but it could be
I mean,
a commitment
Or
from.
do we have a commitment?
Commitment that you'll do the best you can. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I think,
I'm
I don't know
sure,
if that's enforceable either, but
yeah,
other than getting something actually written that you're making a commitment to try to keep as much traffic off that as possible.
It's
yeah,
more of a good faith neighborhood type
Yeah,
thing, is to being a good neighbor with all of us is, you know, the main concern. Like I said, we have Riley Auto Body there and we've had the car lot there forever.
Mhm.
It was just mainly the traffic has picked up a lot in that area than it has over the 50 years, you know, or so. So
Excuse me, once, they take over, we can do away with the tree trimming trucks. I just let them park there because they're doing work for the town and for all new customers. So, I mean, that can stop immediately. We can eliminate that traffic.
it's not the parking there, it's them using our road every night to come.
Oh, I agree. I
And
agree.
and like I said, the road is not big enough for them and they're way too heavy.
We can eliminate those and just do away with that.
I guess if we have any, we'll entertain any motions. from the
We do
board.
want to be careful. on this. We, as you know, this is a conditional use. We have to make specific findings, written findings to the questions. We also, any conditions, they go with the land. I mean, we certainly have faith in the petitioner, but this conditional use, if this outfit would sell later, these conditions we're stuck with. We couldn't go back and be more stringent later.
And Jeff, is that if it's another concrete business, correct?
You have to be a very similar business. Yes, that's right. So if, you know, if we went back to selling cars there, then it would be a different analysis. But if the existing business would be sold to a subsequent owner, the subsequent owner may not be as friendly, but would be bound only by the conditions and findings we put on them today. So we do need to be, I think, vigilant here in making sure that we have everything written down. Even we accept the good faith of the petitioner, but at the same time, we have to look out for the future.
Okay, how about, can the petitioner put up a private directional sign on site as a commitment stating no through truck traffic on Central Way?
We can make that, we're allowed to put reasonable conditions on this approval. And that's certainly reasonable.
That was just a suggestion, but whatever the board feels.
So like the improvements to the building, the exterior paint and all that, we need to have that written down?
Yes.
Is that?
Yes.
if you expect it to happen,
Okay.
or if that is an understanding of your approval.
And the approval itself, and this likely won't happen, but if it ever gets challenged, it's whatever we write down tonight, that which is our findings, not what was said tonight in the record, but what we actually write down. I'm probably going to say something that no one wants to hear, but I'd recommend that we table this until we have a time to get this in a more formal manner. I don't think we're quite there yet because there have been so many great issues brought up tonight.
Does the board feel this way, or?
I didn't
Yeah,
hear
what
everything
did
you
you
said.
He wants to table it until we get things written and structured, so we know exactly what's gonna pass. I guess documented requirements, or, I mean, is that what you're saying, Jeff?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
really don't
just,
have anything written down at this point beyond the presentation.
And the answers to the application that the petitioner provided.
you could adopt the petitioner's petition lock, stock, and barrel as your findings. And we can write down conditions that are tacked onto the approval. But as of right now, we don't have anything written down that's beyond what the petitioner has said. And maybe that's what we want to find. I'm not saying it's not. But we do have to be careful on the formality of this.
I would have to ask this. I'm not retail, as I've tried to explain. I would just have to ask this, and maybe I'm missing a whole country mile here, but Riley Auto Parts, they would have the same, well, they would probably have more, but the basic traffic, they would still have more. They have shopping, more traffic, by far, way more than I do across the street. They still have, I'm sure they have a dumpster, and I'm sure they have supplies delivered on a larger scale. They have one way in and one way out. And who's to say that they don't pull in with trailers? They're customers. And if there is some congestion, who's to say that customer doesn't go through her neighborhood like we're talking about? So I'm wondering how, I don't want to feel like I don't want to say isolated, but I've acknowledged the neighborhood's concerns and the entry and exit into my business. I'm just wondering how unique my situation really is.
Well, and I'm going back to your application as well. And being new, I'm a little, I'm probably asking some silly questions, but you do address the traffic. And you do address, I mean, you state in your application that you're going to be painting and closing a dumpster area and all those. Isn't that enough? Because if we approve that application, then we're saying that you've committed to do these things.
Kind of how I thought.
If we adopt those as our findings, is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, is that?
Jeff, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, if you could accept their petition, the petitioner, and we do this on almost all of our applications, and rightfully so, we say, well, you know what, we have to make these findings. What do you think the answers are? And if you look, I'm looking at their petition right now, and it's, they answer the questions like the first one, the proposed conditional use is in fact conditional use established, and they answer that. And then they get into some other things that we also have to consider, but I don't see any specific conditions written down. There has been verbal commitments tonight, and there might be some written down somewhere else on what they'll do, and there's drawings and things of that nature. But some of the other issues, depending on how much weight we want to give them, aren't in a position yet, at least formally written down, so we could adopt them as a recordable document or as an exhibit on a potential challenge to our approval.
Is that something that should have been part of the original package?
What are we missing, Jeff? I guess-
Well, we would need formal, it's similar to a rezone in a way. We would need we don't need that. It's ultimately the board's responsibility to draft the findings, just like we would for the plan commission would for a rezone recommendation or or the variances that we do. We can, we can say, well, you can have the 10 foot setback reduced if you do this. We just need something that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Could we make this specific enough that it would only apply to Swackhammer, masonry and concrete? And that way, any future use would have to come back before this board if it were similar? I mean, would that,
As long, yeah, if there's a significant, it's like a grandfathered use. As long as they don't change it significantly, we can't get back in there just because there's been a change of owners. But if instead of concrete, they started doing, I can't even think of an example, but even something that would be less of a footprint, then they would have to come back before this board to request the conditional use again. If the use though stays exactly the same, what we're finding tonight is, does what was presented to us, is that the kind of use we're going to allow on that property? Not, the gentleman that's petitioning or things of that nature. Is, do we think this belongs there? And the zoning code is set up to say, well, they need to, it's only in certain circumstances are we going to allow this. What circumstances? It's the questions you pointed out. We have to come up with written responses to those.
Well, where is that now?
What's that?
What he just said.
you guys
He
did
said-
answer them at your
Basically, did he
application.
just say that if there was a specific type business that was going to be allowed on that property? Is that what he just said?
No, you
Did I
can't do
interpret
that.
it wrong?
Jeff, this Willie, what were you saying about this specific property?
Well, we're seeing what kind of use are we going to allow on this specific property? It doesn't have anything to do with the owner himself or herself or what kind of business it's. Are we going to allow this kind of business?
Changes, they'll have to come back to the board.
What
Am I
he's
right?
trying to say, from what I'm understanding, what he's trying to say is that if we are going to allow this type of business to function here, regardless of who the owner is this the way that the town of Pendleton sees this site functioning? So is everything that is part of this proposal that has been given to us tonight, are we happy with this? So if Swackhammer leaves and there's a new person, or I'm sorry, if this particular Swackhammer business leaves and a different owner comes in and buys it, are we okay with that other owner doing these things on that site as well? Because the only
If it's a
time,
different owner, will he have to come back before the board?
no, because he could purchase this business off of this particular owner and continue running
I
this
think we've
business.
discussed everything tonight that you're talking about, and I think the board has asked the questions about it, and
Have you guys been able to hear everything?
Yes.
we've addressed the traffic issues.
So-
If we need conditions that he'll paint it within a year, can't that be spelled out if the board agrees? That,
Sure.
a year from today, it'll have to be painted or fined or something.
Sure, absolutely.
I'd just like to remind everybody, something I think is very important here, is Willie ran a successful business out there. We all know that. And this property, and I give my wife credit, she Michelle, this was a good happenstance. We were growing, and this building's available. And we're gonna buy this property and make it nice.
Well, so I guess what if we adopt the petitioner's questions, and in addition to those, we add that non-personal vehicles will access the property from State Street, and that the painting and exterior improvements, including the dumpster enclosure, need to be done within 12 months.
All right, well,
Is that,
And that will be part of the conditional use permit or a finding of fact that I will prepare after this meeting and then have you guys sign.
next month? Yeah.
Yes, and then send you a copy if that's what the board agrees to. So that's how it will be written down.
I still, this thing with Central has got me. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not trying to be difficult, and I'd like everybody to agree on everything, and we go, all of us go home happy. But this thing with that one block of Central,
Well, no, I'm talking north of your property.
the
Legacy-
neighborhood, yeah, I don't have any
Yeah, so
business.
basically, your commercial vehicles and trailers need to stay out of the residential
I
area.
had no business
You
there.
can
But
go
when those
eat,
guys
yeah.
sleep to go home,
Yeah.
personal vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
you're not
you
talking
can
about
argue
that many
about that.
vehicles. We're not talking hundreds of vehicles. We're
No,
talking
we're just
what, a
wanting, we're
dozen?
wanting to keep the heavy and wide
Yeah.
vehicles off of the.
Yeah, and I think
residential
he's agreed that, he'll have his guys go out the front way.
Yeah, I don't have any
Yeah.
need to send them the opposite direction, guys.
So if we make the amendments like you just mentioned,
Mhm.
does that satisfy what Jeff's been talking about?
Jeff, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's fine. It's just what we say tonight and what gets approved or denied or conditions or whatever. We just need to make sure we spell them out completely so Kaylee can put that in a report. Because that's what we'll be going off of for this property for as long as that thing's there, no matter what happens to all of us.
Kayla, could you scroll the petition back by?
Sorry.
Remain slack hammer concrete, that everything would stay the same as today. But if it would change names, then they would have to come back to this committee. Is that correct?
No, that's
It's a
not correct.
zoning
As long as the business
So as
stays.
long as the unit is the same, this stays. Okay.
Yeah, as long
Yeah.
as it's
Change the
business.
zoning.
Mhm.
That was like when I had a Chevrolet dealership there, a Ford dealership could come in and wouldn't have to, the same type of.
So as long as it we could put something in that says as long as it remains a masonry and concrete.
A masonry services business, maybe,
Yes,
not
yes.
masonry production.
Right. Service only.
There, you can make that a condition. Yes. Mhm.
So we'll have the masonry services as the business. Non-personal vehicles will not enter through the residential area. And that the exterior painting and dumpster improvements need to be done within 12 months. In addition to the language here regarding interior improvements and all that was included in that condition.
Did everyone hear that?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion if anybody feels like that covers the.
You guys okay with that? Could you repeat the motion, or you're entertaining a motion?
Yeah, so I propose we entertain a motion to approve with the conditions that the petitioner listed in their application. In addition to the business type being a masonry services business.
Okay.
And also non-personal vehicles will not enter and exit through the residential area to the north. And that the exterior painting and dumpster enclosure improvements need to be done within 12 months.
Yeah, and again, I just want to be transparent. Yeah. The transition, and I will enforce this with my employees, okay? And there might be a slip up, like, I just told him 5 minutes ago not to go out to the neighborhood. That's probably gonna happen. I hope not. I'll do everything.
Well, it's just,
The newness of it.
right, yeah.
But they'll soon find out that is not a quick way out of Dodge. Okay, that I know it because for 6 months I've been toying with this. So yes, I'm good with that.
Well, I was looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? I'll second that. All right, motion and a second. Kayla, do you want to do a roll? call?
Sure. Kirby McLaughlin?
Yes.
Jamila Zafar?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Kyle Icorn,
Yes.
Tammy Bowman,
Yes.
Carol Hannah.
Yes.
All right.
Motion passes.
I'll
So you'll prepare the findings and we'll review those at the next meeting. For signature. Okay. All right, on to the second item of new business.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
V 11-17-2020-01, 739 North Pendleton Avenue.
All right. So our second petition tonight is a variance application for an addition to an existing pole barn, a single-family residential zoning district. The petitioner is Ronald Jones, who is here tonight. Let's see. He has included his application, in addition to a site plan showing where the addition would go. This is an addition to an existing pole barn, which was actually granted a variance back in 2004, just to give you a heads up. So it is a 1,500 square foot addition to I believe a 2,400 square foot existing pole barn. Okay, Mr. Jones has provided us with images of the addition. He actually came in for a building permit, so he was pretty well set to go ahead and build it. So we've got all the documents as far as the plan and what it would look like from the Pendleton Avenue side. And I'm going to switch over here to some aerial images so we can see it in that way as well. So it's a single family zoned site just north of the railroad tracks on North Pendleton Avenue. It's got agricultural in front of it across Pendleton Avenue, as well as on the other side of the railroad tracks. And then a few single family residences before 360 West. So history of the structure, like I was kind of getting into, it is a variance was granted in 2004 for the 2,400 square foot pole barn to store vintage vehicles. So it is for personal use. I believe that Mr. Jones has well, that didn't help situation, has there we go, has an RV and a car he'd like to store inside of the addition. In 2009, a carport was attached as well. I've added some comparisons to the development standards for accessory buildings. Proposed lot coverage, even after the addition, would be 13% of the permitted 30% for single family. The height, as I've calculated it, would be 21 feet to match the existing barn. Am I right about that, Mr. Jones?
The height,
Yes.
it'll be the same height. Nothing
Okay.
changes like that.
Okay. And so the permitted height is a little shorter than that, which as we've seen as a board does not fit an RV. So that's why
And
we,
that's like mid-gable is how that's kind of.
yes. So this would have 16-foot walls according to the plan. The size of the addition that is considered tonight is a 1,500 square foot addition only, and the total square footage allowed across the town of Pendleton, except for agricultural purposes, is 1,200 square feet, which generally gets you a 30 by 40 3-car detached garage, potentially with a bonus room above. That's about what that design's for. So the front setback, this barn would be 55 feet. They're permitted or required for an accessory building in single-family zoning would be 90 feet here, which is about where the current corner of the barn is. However, I would like to point out that given the strange shape of this lot, I mean, it's an oddball shape, so there's good grounds, I guess, for variance as far as setback, just due to the triangular shape of the lot. It gets very narrow at the end. Just pointing that out. Here are some pictures of Mr. Jones's residence. Some of you might recognize it. It's blue property on the left side, right as you cross the tracks. Okay, and I need to figure out how to go to the next page. Ah, there we go. Okay. So the intent of development standards for accessory structures and uses is to ensure that they are incidental and subordinate to the principal use of the lot, which is, in this case, is a single family home. So that's really why we require them to be set back just that much further, or limit the size or the height. And that's what this board gets to decide tonight is, do you make a motion to, approve as Mr. Jones has brought it here tonight, at 30 by 50 as shown in the plans, he's ready to build. Do you approve with modifications, such as maybe he needs to lower, we'll say that this is just examples, lower the height, or perhaps add some residential features like a roof overhang, or windows that are residential in nature, or a landscaping requirement. Those are all examples of things that would maybe make that variance a little bit more tolerable in this area, or you could deny it altogether. So that's my staff presentation. If you have any questions for me.
Questions for staff? Online?
I'm sorry, is he planning to make the exterior matching blue?
Are you planning to make the exterior matching blue?
Yes,
Yes.
and there will be residential windows placed in it. I've got double hungs
Okay, to match the
to
existing.
match the existing double hung windows. I think there's 6 on the side that 3 groups of 2. So there'll be 24 double hungs on the side that faces Fountain Avenue, and then there'll be 2 sets on the side that faces the house.
Did you hear anything from the neighbors that you sent the certified mailing to?
No,
How much property do you have in total there?
I think it's 2 3/4 acres. I've heard 3, 2 3/4. I've heard 2 1/2.
And you have one other outbuilding?
Yes, when I bought the property, the garage that sits at the end of the driveway and the house was there. And then in 04, then we had the other structure. And I used to put a motor home in the new structure. And that worked out well till I traded motor homes. And this was taller.
So
you're gonna put the
gable will be.
motorhome- I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Carol.
You're gonna put the motorhome in the new structure then?
Yes, oh yeah.
Will it come out to about where those 2 trees are in front of the motor?
Yeah, I am gonna probably lose the trees, but I planted those when that building was built in 04, and I'll go, plant some more because of the shade, keeps the heat off of it, so.
So the gable will be the same height and basically extend out.
It will look exactly as that one does on the front. It'll follow the same line. The building will be about 6 foot longer. So on the one toward the railroad tracks, it'll start to run up a little higher. The other one would be here, and this will actually come up a little bit, so that we can get the 16 foot, because the doors will be on that end. So as far as that goes, as looking at it, aesthetically, it should look pretty much the same as what you're looking at.
railroad track for a neighbor,
They've been good neighbors. They have been good neighbors. And it'd be a little hard to complain about them because they've been there a lot longer than I have.
I guess in this case, we have the 3 questions on the petition that we need to address.
Variances are a little bit different, as you guys are aware. This is already conditional uses are permitted, or they're uses that are permitted so long as they meet the conditions that you guys feel would basically make them desirable use in the neighborhood. On the other hand, variances, we have something in our ordinance that says, nope, we have decided that an accessory building in the town of Pendleton, unless it is used for agricultural purposes, needs to be 1,200 square feet max, 15 feet tall max. Anything beyond that is coming to you guys for a variance from development standards. The purpose behind that is to make sure that the accessory building remains subsidiary and secondary to the primary use of the lot, which is single family. So as long as the intent is that when you drive by this property, even though there is a pole barn, you still think single family residential. I know we've had some variances in the past on pole barns because RVs, I don't think they were nearly as popular back when our ordinance was written. So I'm kind of leaving that to you as residents of Pendleton to make the call on if you would like to grant Mr. Jones a variance again, as was done in 2004, or if you believe this would, alternately, you could think that this pushes this property over the edge. The pole barn is so big, it looks like maybe a business, and he should be able to fit what he has in his existing pole barn. Those are just 2 very different ways you could think about it. I kind of leave it to you. It's here because it doesn't conform with our ordinance, but not to say that we haven't done this in the past. So,
And just to add on to that, very good explanation. You do have to make the findings of the 3 questions, whichever way you come out. And just like somewhat
not
similar
real good.
to conditional uses, you can add conditions, like the paint color.
so they could, and Kirby, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off for just a minute. So for example, they could recommend, or they could approve it with the condition that he has to have an overhang or paint it to match, or basically match the existing like he has said he will do, but just make it a condition of the variance.
Yes.
Overhangs are designed into it, yes.
Okay, Kirby, what were you saying?
An entrance off of Pendleton Avenue, there will not be any new.
No, I've already got, there's really a horseshoe drive. Used to be before I parked this outside, now it's 2 separate drives. So the entrance to it, and that will cease being a horseshoe drive then at that point.
It'll just go
But
right
it
in.
will come in from the drive down by the railroad track.
Does staff, I'm sorry, Jamila or Tammy, do you have any questions for Mr. Jones?
No, I mean, I'm all for, I think that it will look nice if he makes it match, the same style as the pole barn there, same color. And this is a unique situation with the lot and his big RV. So it'd be appropriate for him to have the extra space he needs beyond what the current limit is.
Did you guys hear that? Oh. Jamila is in favor of approving because she thinks it will look nice with the RV stored under and it will match in with the residential feel, basically.
You said you're gonna have some residential looking windows on
Yeah.
the side that faces Pendleton Avenue.
Yeah, there'll be 3 sets of double hung. 2 double hungs, and then we'll go 10 feet, 2 double hungs, and then again 10 feet. So they'll probably be 40 to 48 inches. I forget now what they are. There'll be 2, probably 20 to 24 inches. And then again, on the front as well, as you pull in the front drive and you look at it, so.
And you'll add the stipulation, it'll be the same color.
Yes,
Yes.
same building. Amish.
Mhm.
All right, Tammy, any input, or I guess we could entertain a motion? We would have the stipulation that it's built per the sketches provided, and that the color and character of the building matches the existing building.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for a motion?
Yes. Anybody want to make a motion?
I will. I was gonna let someone else this time.
I heard one of them say something.
Oh, Jamila, did you want to make the motion?
Sure. Okay, make a motion to approve according to the petition and also making it the same color and characteristics of the rest of the property
To match.
to match, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second, no.
Okay, roll call vote.
Kirby McCrocklin,
Yes.
Jamila Zafar,
Yes.
Kyle Icorn,
Yes.
Tammy Bowman,
Yes.
Carol Hannah.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. That's the end of new business. All right, meeting is adjourned.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
I have to tell you, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I had this on my schedule for Thursday night. I'm sitting there in my lazy boy and pretty much PJs, and she calls. I see town board, I go, to town hall, and I'm going, well, they working.
Yeah. Yeah, Denise called you, actually. I'm so glad we were able to get a hold of you on short
Yeah,
notice.
I'm just kind of
Mhm.
Getting old ain't
Have a
easy.
nice long first agenda item.
Yep, nope, I think it's the time change a little bit too. It's still a
Well,
little
thank
getting
you. Now I
used
gotta
to.
go convince the War Department. This is just part of it.
All right, thank you.
And
Mr.
again,
Jones.
thank you for your help.
Yeah, I think that we agreed that that covers it. so.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Perfect.
excellent.
It was simpler than the other one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
All right, night, you guys.
Okay. I think I signed everything.
Oh, Jamila, okay, she just went. There we go. All right, I'm gonna end the meeting.
You know what? I have a new personal email. Do you want me to? Because
If you could give that to Denise.
why don't I, want me to email it to you?
You say you
Can I-
prefer personal email?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
email it to you. and then-
Yeah, just email it to
Yeah,
me.
I finally got rid of Frontier as my internet
Provider.
provider.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
upgrade?
Well, yes, yes, much different speed.
Uh,
So I'll send you an email
Yeah, that would
with
be
it
fine.
then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I'll